Hello, thank you. Thank you to our studio audience, and thank you as always to our viewing audience at home. Welcome to another edition of the IB Film Show. I, as always, am your host, Mr. Shotwell, and we are here today with Jack Productions, who has just wrapped on their latest picture. Immediately to my left is the picture's cinematographer, Jaden Agnet. And immediately to his left, the picture's director, Alex Matei. So the picture is called Lost, right, guys?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, by the way. It's great to have you back in studio.
No problem.
It's been a long time. So we're going to check the film out in a couple of minutes, but while I have you guys here, I want to ask you a couple of questions, starting first with Jaden. Jaden, before I ask you a question about your work, I understand there was a third person working on the picture, the Christian Kennedy, right, was editing the film?
He was our editor. Can't be here today, unfortunately, but he had a vital role in the filmmaking process. He had a lot of footage to work with, and he was able to edit through it on time, on deadline, and I think he really made the final product.
Awesome. Christian, we miss you, and we're thinking about you. All right, Jaden. So you handled a lot. I mean, I know you specifically were responsible for the cinematography, but all three of you guys kind of cross-produced in a lot of different roles. And I wanted specifically to ask you about your involvement in the planning process for this film. What was the process specifically for pre-planning locations and then the techniques you wanted to apply in shooting at those locations?
Yeah, so when we were making the film, we originally went to some different locations to kind of see their viability for the film. So we went into the forest, Hempstead Lake State Park, to find some different areas, and we kind of settled on this kind of log area where the logs were kind of in a circular pattern to kind of look like a bonfire in a way, or a campfire. And in terms of the interviews, which we were later in the film, we went to two different houses. One was Christian's house, and then the other was one of our other actors' houses. And the techniques I used, the techniques were kind of very specific. When I was doing the interview sections, I wanted to kind of be very simplistic. I didn't want to do anything out of the ordinary with camera work, and kind of just let my actors and have their emotions kind of shine through, and let their scripts, which was written by my co-partner here, to kind of really bring their characters to life.
I see. So the simplicity was like a pre-planned intentional thing when it came to the interviews.
All the interview shots are on tripods, and there's some simplistic panning down and panning up to kind of get a look at their environment, but other than that, it was really simple.
I mean, it reads like a very carefully cared for and planned film. You know, it feels like something that had a lot of intention going in, especially when it comes to how you shot differently in the two major different locations.
Yeah, like when I was in the forest, they're all handheld shots to kind of seem like the footage was from a documentary, because when you're watching those kinds of movies or like Dateline or things like that, you're not getting like studio produced film. You're just taking what was filmed that day of the incident. So that's exactly what I wanted to emulate. So there's really no tripod work in the forest. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Alex, to that end, now that we're kind of getting into the actual production of the film, I know as director you particularly had your hands in kind of every aspect of this film, but I wanted to ask you sort of a broader, almost plot-based question. The character of George. It's a mystery film, not only in that we don't know what happened to George in the beginning, but even at the end of the film it's sort of left unresolved. So what actually happens to George in the film, and does it matter?
Like, I wrote the script, and even I don't really know what happened to George. I feel like it's on the viewer to make up their own decision on what happened and like who you want to believe. I feel like there is no right answer to what happened, but I don't think that also matters as much because he disappears and it's kind of evident that he's not coming back, and
Right.
there's not going to be justice for what happened to him. So I feel like what actually happened doesn't carry as much weight.
As like thinking about it and kind of passing those judgments. That's interesting. I have to ask, you have so many different perspectives. We're not sure who to believe. Is there a Rashomon influence behind this film?
Yeah, 100%. Like, chose to have the people testify right to the camera instead of, like, including the interviewer in the shot. And I also wanted to have, like, the shots of the forest interspersed within, like, their testimonies to, like, balance it and make it very Rashomon-esque.
It comes through, and I think it's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we check it out, this will be the last project that the two of you create in your IB film career. So I wanted to give you a brief moment to sort of reflect on that by thinking about, at this moment, what sort of filmmaker would you consider yourself each to be, and how do you think that's reflected in the film we're about to watch? Jaden, you can start, and then we'll go to Alex.
Well, I would say I'm kind of like an evolving filmmaker. I know that I usually played like roles that were more on screen, and so being able to kind of be behind the camera and find that there's different roles in filmmaking.
Sure.
It was very gratifying for me to have my hands on the work and to really make a picture that felt like my own.
Cool. Yeah, you took a lot of ownership of this one. Interesting. Alex?
I'd say collaborative because I have my own creative vision, but I know that it's not perfect, and that with the help of others it'll be improved. So I bounced a lot of my ideas and thoughts off Christian and Jaden, and that helped make a more well-rounded final product.
Well, it's beautiful. It was a great way of thinking about the role of direction in general, too. On that wonderful note, should we check it out?
Yep.
All right, so without further ado, Jack Productions' Lost. We hope you enjoy.
Guys, how are we literally supposed to learn anything when our teacher's never in class?
I know, it's so annoying. She's there like every other day.
Yo.
Go to the bathroom.
Alright, yeah, have fun. Don't get lost, okay? Yo, Friday. Hey, what'd you get on that last test?
Frederick.
What?
My name is Frederick.
Oh, alright, never mind.
Please state your name.
Dave Jacobs.
Izzy DeRosa.
Frederick Douglass.
Juliana Schnabla.
What can you tell me about George Mateo?
I mean, he was my best friend. He was a pretty outgoing guy. Life of the party type of person. He was really funny, but he had like a soft side too. He volunteered at the animal shelter every week, you know.
How'd you know George?
We grew up together. We went to the same elementary school, middle school, and high school. I mean, the whole group was pretty close since we were little kids. It was Dave, Izzy, George, and me, really.
Can you describe your relationship to George?
He and I were pretty close. He was a pretty talkative guy, and he always turned to me to vent. He wasn't as close with Frederick or Juliana, but he was best friends with Dave.
I didn't really know him all too well. I was closest with Dave, but overall I couldn't call anybody there a good friend. I was just there because I didn't have anything better to do that night.
Interesting. Can you tell me about that night?
It was one of those average hangouts, nothing out of the ordinary. The one thing that sticks out is how George was acting. He was not himself. He loved to talk and make people laugh, but it was like he didn't know us that night. He was a shell of himself.
How was the search for George?
It was a little weird. Dave and Izzy didn't really react. I guess they thought he was just pranking them, but it was strange.
George! You can come out now, George! George! George!
Guys, he literally did this last week. He's just
playing pretend again.
It's a prank, guys.
Come on. I think he's pranking.
He is. You're wasting your time. It's been a really long time.
Alright. You go look.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to George?
I wish I knew. I mean, I had this idea that he purposely left and that he's just living his best life on a beach somewhere. That's what I think happened to George.
What do you think happened? And more importantly, do you think he's still alive?
I don't know. He probably fell out and hit his head on a tree root or something. Or he got lost in the forest. At that time of year, the only people in the forest were kids like us drinking. So, it couldn't have been anything else.
Yo, can I go now?
One more question. What do you think happened to George?
How am I how am I supposed to know? It was just, I think alien abduction, really, that's what I think. And because he disappeared without a trace. Is that all you need?
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
What do you think happened to George?
I always suspected foul play. George was a pretty bright guy, but that's at least how he was known. I doubt he just got lost or fell somewhere. He spent a lot of time in the forest with his friends.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the two of you for coming in today, and thanks as always to our studio audience at home. This has been another edition of the IB Film Show, and we'll see you next time, everybody.